What is something you pay for that should be free? I'm waiting for your opinion on what you give your money for, but it should be free. Enjoy the show. Story 1. Healthcare, which should include the cost of glasses, contacts, and dental care. Honestly, it's insane the price my family have had to pay just to be able to see. I'm from the UK, but I think it's horrible that people in other countries have to pay for healthcare. Education. I'd like a degree or something, but it's very expensive. Knowledge is free, but you have to pay for recognition of that knowledge. Mental, school meals, etc. Story 2. I'm a nurse in Toronto, Canada. I have to pay for my parking at work, which is always full. We have to fight for spots. My annual mandatory training course is required for the ER, which I have to take on my days off. EMS, fire, police get paid education days arranged through work. And lastly, our uniforms. Again, EMS first, Popo get free uniforms and free dry cleaning. Not shocking, since the majority of nurses are women, POC, and new immigrants. Story 3. Life. Life should be free after all these wars, after all that bullshit in science, after everything that history says. If you really are a human and need government for equally free life, then where is a tree for bare minimum food? Where is a at least place to sleep? Where are the bare minimum facilities? So because somebody born before me and rich, just because what her parents do and we don't care. The fact is it legal or illegal doesn't give him or her to take my life standards. This is modern slavery, not a life. Story 4. As a Scottish person, I'm finding these comments interesting. So many are free here. Pads, water, food, healthcare, eye care, dental, etc. Before the Americans jump in, I obviously mean free, as in free to access, as in you get the thing then leave without paying for it at some till or reception, etc. Story 5. Water, medical care, dental care, eye care, mental health care. We live in the information age. An eye condition impacts your employment and education. Dental care. Rotted out teeth can lead to pain and suffering. Expenses that kill households. Infections that can get into the brain. Nutrition and dietary issues, given you can't chew right, contributing to malnourishment and digestive issues. Medical care. Do I have to explain this one? Mental health care. Look at the extremism emerging as a way to fill the voids in people's hearts. Look at the deranged people that kill others and blame the voice in their head. People often fall into shit lives because of traumas that are never rectified. You want to reduce death in the USA? All medical, mental, dental, and vision care should be provided at the current standard, if not a higher standard. And it should be free for everyone with US citizenship. Because obviously I don't want to fucking line out the door for a bunch of people who fucking claim to hate America. Of course, the party that claims to be able to do this is also the party with people like Pelosi and Biden who both suck ass. It's all a farce. I'd love this future, but they want me to not be able to defend myself, so fuck them. Story 6. I'm surprised seeing all of these people saying the most random stuff ever and forgetting about water. We pay for the most important part of our existence. Go 2 days without water, you'll be a fish left in the sun. And we gotta pay for that? What if someone can't? And I don't mean just any water, I mean drinkable water. Story 7. Fuel. Now listen, I'm not dumb enough to think gasoline should be free, but we seriously, as a species, have not figured out some sort of quickly produced fuel yet? Electricity is there, but even that has many concerns in terms of production, storage, and output. Why are we still reliant on gasoline? Why is there practically no research going into a reliable, producable resource for nearly every logistical problem in the world? Story 8. Childcare, 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 childcare. I'm 35 and I don't have kids and doubt I ever will, and this is one I shout from the rooftops. As Americans, we are leaving money on the table when we don't publicly fund childcare. Truly, it would boost our economy. It'll only ever happen if Dems somehow get control of Congress and the White House because we need it written into our Constitution. Republicans will never consider something that they receive more votes for opposing. Dems will receive more votes for putting their weight behind this. Story 9. In the UK, urgent healthcare needs aren't met by the NHS anymore, so you have to pay for private healthcare without the benefit of insurance. The NHS has dedicated itself to mindless bureaucracy and cast the population of this country onto the scrap heap. If we didn't have the NHS, we'd have health insurance so we could get looked after. Story 10. Medical insurance, medical care. It's astronomical. I have many friends that think that because I work for a healthcare system that my insurance is cheap and the coverage is good. No, not in the least. The price tag is insane. On top of paying out of each paycheck, I also have to pay $6,000 out of pocket before anything is covered. I'm currently drowning in medical debt. Story 11. In my opinion, this is a loaded question. There is no such thing as something of value that is free. There is only the matter of how it is paid for and who pays for it. Looking at it from the perspective of this should be free devalues it. As a society, if we look at these things as fee or things that should be free, we perpetuate the whole reason why they are unattainable for many in the first place. You don't value the things you didn't have to earn or that are plentiful to you, so you don't put the same effort into putting that education to use or taking care of that home you get credit toward renting, or making sure those food stamps are spent on food that isn't going to cause more dependence on the system due to obesity. It's human nature. Just to be clear, I'm not saying there isn't a place for these things, but stop calling them free. It does everyone a disservice. Story 12, water. I get that in America's capitalist society you kind of have to pay for it, and I know that there are third world countries that barely have any. But if America has an obvious abundance of water, why not either make it free or at least reduced price? I went to get a bottle of water from a gas station, and I was so poor I had to count nickels and dimes for like half an hour because the water bottle was almost $4. I understand that there are states that have droughts every year. I used to live in California before I moved here, and there is droughts all the time, and they have been getting worse. But like, if I live in this hick town, why can't I just have water without paying $4? Like, I'm literally dehydrated constantly, LMAO. Story 13. TV. All these dang-gone streaming services are a joke. It should be just one. All the channels, just like it was back in the day. Nowadays, you need to pay for 2, 3 streaming networks to get just the basics. ABC, Hulu, NBC, Peacock, CBS, Paramount. And if you want movies, that's a whole other streaming channel. Story 14. As someone who works in healthcare, I'm not saying prescription drugs in the United States should be free, but they should be exponentially cheaper. I have a person in my network that smuggles certain prescription drugs like insulin from Mexico to the United States and use said person business as the decoy to sell to a certain community who don't have insurance, and person makes a minimum of $30K a month in pure profit. I'm being vague on purpose. Story 15, everything, but the kitchen sink. No, literally. Everything but the house itself, and the stuff bought in overindulgence. Phones, TVs, tablets, and transportation. Clothes can be made, food can be grown, energy, well, Stifu on that one, and healthcare should definitely be free. But then the powers that be would have anybody's lives to play with. Corporate man-child tantrums enter the chat asterisk. Story 16, free data or internet. In my country, not sure abroad, we have to load our phone numbers with money so we can buy promos online that let us use our cellular data, and it's actually pretty expensive now that I think of it. I'm just a student, and I spend a lot of time outside. Yes, there are Wi-Fi pods you can put your coin in and get access to the internet, but I don't want to be stuck on a chair with a bunch of other people while I do my schoolwork or etc. You constantly need to be loading, and the promo doesn't even last that long, but the ones that do last are so expensive. The MBs are so limited, and for Globe, the Go Create feature is way more expensive than the normal Go 50 promo. And for some promos, it's enough for a meal of 4, 5 people. Story 17. I think here in the U.S., health insurance, dental, medical, and vision should all be free to some degree, or at least reward those of us who remain healthy and only need to visit medical providers for routinely and annually checkups. I pay for health insurance for myself and my children, but we only use the services routinely, every 6 months, dental, and get annual checkups, medical, and vision. For us, it costs more to pay for the insurance than the amount of times we use the benefits. Another thing that should be free is getting a higher education. I won't go into the specifics of this one because I'd be here for days. I've told my children that they don't have to go to college, and that I'd be proud of them if they took up a trade, which seems to me schools didn't push or discuss when I was their age. I'd rather my children become some of the heroes of the world, such as electricians, journeymen, women, plumbers, welders, or whatever they see fit for themselves, than to be drowning in debt such as myself because college was shoved in my face more than a trade. Story 18. Not necessarily free, but paid for by the taxes we already pay. The American healthcare system. Take some of them tax dollars they wring out of all of us every year and actually do something for us for a change. Not some abstract this will help down the road 30 years nonsense. Building better schools will help in 10 to 20 years, but what will help now is affordable health care that leaves people feeling less desperate. This will remove the pressure from some of the more dangerous elements in this stew that are about to blow. I'd be interested to see a statistic about how many people committed a crime on some level because of a medical bill on another level. Just saw a video yesterday of a guy robbing stores so he can get his daughter a kidney transplant. Well, he tried to, but when he realized it wasn't enough money, he gave it back to the store owner and left. Didn't take a thing. That's a good person that's been pushed into desperation. This has to stop. Story 19. United States here. Healthcare. Just recently saw a man was given a $40K hospital bill after being brought back to life, and he was completely okay with not coming back. It's a joke over here we aren't united, and our own government doesn't care about us. Story 20. Insulin, food, housing. What's the point in all this advancement in society when we still have to pay, more than ever, for the essentials just to live? Why am I breaking my fucking back to not even be able to afford a house when a grocery bagger used to be able to? Canada is such a shithole now, taxed out the asshole with 90% of it given to corporate welfare, land of socializing loss and privatizing profits. Fuck them all. Story 21. Housing. When a society lays claim to all land, effectively preventing a person from building their own shelter without interacting with the society, that society has obligations to the affected people. There is no excuse for a society to have a single person involuntarily living without adequate shelter. I feel just as strongly that food and water fall under the same umbrella of logic. Story 22. One thing that many argue should be freely accessible is basic healthcare. In many countries, healthcare is considered a fundamental human right, and citizens have access to essential medical services without financial barriers. However, in some places, healthcare is largely privatized, leading to high costs for even routine medical procedures, medications, and doctor visits. This can create significant financial strain on individuals and families, especially those with low incomes or chronic health conditions. Advocates for universal health care argue that access to medical care should not be contingent on one's ability to pay, but rather should be provided to all members of society as a public good. Story 23. The basics: food, water, shelter. Not the best of them, but the basics. Anything besides adequate would be on you to upgrade to. Example: everyone get a basic house and a monthly supply of basic food and water. Your snacks, larger, luxury home, or specialty water, etc. is on you. Story 24. Public transport for the unemployed or rough sleepers should be heavily subsidized or free of charge. Those guys have a hard enough time as it is, without having to scrounge up change for a train fare. The service is already there. It's not going to cost any more to let a token number of additional people on board. Story 25. Parking, because apparently this massive stadium making more money off of this single event than I will probably make in my entire lifetime apparently needs to squeeze like $50 more out of me, just so I can enjoy the privilege of actually being somewhat close to the convention center with my car and not having to walk or bus or train from farther away. Story 26. Parking, because apparently this massive stadium, making more money off of this single event than I will probably make in my entire lifetime, apparently needs to squeeze like $50 more out of me just so I can enjoy the privilege of actually being somewhat close to the convention center with my car and not having to walk or bus or train from farther away. Story 27. There's two broad categories: things which are more efficient if they are provided for free. For instance, making TB treatment free ensures that everyone is exposed to TB less frequently. Funding public toilets with taxes ensures that there's less shit in the street for everyone. There's legitimate debate here about whether the collective cost is worth the collective benefit in any specific instance, of course. Things which an ethical society could not bear that members go without. For instance, medical care for an infant. Most people's ethics would not permit an infant to die of a treatable disease simply because they had the misfortune to be born to impoverished parents. People, having different ethics, will naturally differ on exactly what should and should not be included. Story 28. I don't get that anything in life is free. Somebody had to be paid to bring it forth and to distribute it, but I will play along. In NYC, trains and buses and bridge tolls should be eliminated and the right amount of tax applied across the city, every taxpayer, to support the transit system. It would be a minimal amount. And maybe take some other funds, some from other do-nothing area of the city system to also support it. They would save a lot of money trying to collect tolls and fees and all of that, and things would just be open. Who goes on the train or over a bridge just because it's free? You use what you use because you need to. Story 29. Healthcare in general, but specifically the medication I have to take that retails for $6.8 thousand for 1 month's supply, 4 doses. In Canada, it costs $200 for the same supply. And it's all for the sake of greed, folks. Gotta love American capitalism. Story 30. As long as someone else needs to work so that I get something, it should not be free. But yes, things have to be priced reasonably. One shouldn't be making insane amount of profit on basic necessities or healthcare, and there has to be a cap on how big the difference can be in salaries of CEOs and other C-suite versus the lowest level employee of the company. Story 31. I'm male, so I don't pay for them, but women having to pay for sanitary products. Shampoo, conditioner, sure. Everyone needs that, so everyone has to pay for that. Sanitary products, however, are essential to quality of life. Ever since I knew what a period was, I always thought it was fucking dumb that you had to pay for something that is essential to a woman's quality of life. Thank you very much for watching. If you liked the video, like it. Be sure to write comments and share your stories.